I first see the words hovering over a video as I'm scrolling through Instagram. Maybe you've seen these words too. We teach life, sir. And next to the words, young Palestinians wearing keffiyeh are dancing dabka, joyous ancient Arab folk dance, and around them, destruction. They dance, and there is devastation all around. And I Google the words, we teach life, sir. And I learn, maybe as some of you have learned or known for a long time, of their origin. Words written by the poet and activist Rafeef Zaida, a Palestinian spoken word artist and human rights activist based in London. I learned that she wrote a poem, We Teach Life, Sir, during attacks on Gaza during the winter of 2008 to 2009. She says about her work, the poems and music here have been written over several years, 3 wars, 2 sieges, too many borders, and many protests and picket lines. She says, I hope they capture even a glimpse of the love and resilience of my many friends and the many strangers who teach life with steadfast smile every day. In the poem, which you should definitely look up and let it wash over you if you haven't heard it, it's a brilliant reflection on narrative and voice and devastation. In it, she reflects on her experience of being a spokesperson and being asked by a reporter, Ms. Zaida, don't you think that everything could be resolved if you would just stop teaching so much hatred to your children? She says, pause. She says, I look inside of me for the strength to be patient, but patience is not at the tip of my tongue as the bombs drop over Gaza. Patience has just escaped me. Pause, smile. We teach life, sir. Every day, every moment, it seems, contains so much in this, our beautiful and broken world. The life of mothering and being a mother. This is my second Mother's Day as a mother to my little 1-year-old. And also so much loss and grieving. All those who have lost a mother or who have a hard or tender relationship with mothers or mothering. The fragility of life and the persistence of life side by side in so many moments. In the life of the world, in ongoing massacre, pandemic, death, displacement in Sudan, Congo, Ukraine, Palestine, at scales that our brains cannot grasp, ongoing heartbreaks in our own lives, loved ones lost to age or sickness or disconnection. And I, like many of you, fear further losses as we watch so many parts of our country and communities be taken by politics and practices that do not reflect our values of love and liberation for all. And so the social media scrolling that I turned to for escape asks me back, what does it mean amidst so much death and loss to teach life? I got to go to the Everglades this winter for the very first time. My husband and I were staying with his family in southern Florida for an extended visit, extra help with from the grandparents with our young child, and some bonus warmer weather. The day of our trip, it was raining a ton and surprisingly cold. My brother bought us tickets, and we find out that he has bought them from a tour company owned by the Miccosukee tribe that operates on tribal land in the Everglades. I'm quickly distracted from wanting to learn more as we're in the airboat, wind whipping through our clothes, scrambling to try to keep a pair of ear protectors on our very wriggly, very displeased child, and it is so loud that I have no way to communicate with my husband that I am beginning to doubt this particular chapter in a book called Nothing is Going to Change Just Because We Had a Baby, Right? And a primal feeling of protection is slowly taking over me as I eye alligators feet away from me in the water, eyeing my child. And amidst all of this, our very patient, unruffled guide pulls the airboat over and tells us the story of the Mikazuki people who refused the Trail of Tears and escaped south, avoiding genocidal removal, and hid for their lives there in the Everglades. He tells us how they won recognition as a sovereign nation in 1961, never having surrendered to the US government. He shows us the raised platforms they very wisely created to keep their little babies far from the eyes of alligators. He shows us medicinal plants growing right there in the river of grass, as they call it, that can be used to ease pain and heal wounds. So much closer and more affordable, he says, than driving more than an hour into Miami to go to CVS. We spontaneously decide to stay there on the reservation for a day when we learn that it's the first day of the annual Mikazuki Indian Arts and Crafts Festival, a celebration of art and foodways and life and culture of the descendants of those who ran into the Everglades, who resisted, who survived. Mikazuki young people run a fashion show of traditional and contemporary clothing design. We watch alligator wrestling as the commentators share about the roots of the practice and how the skills are passed from generation to generation. Yes, because it is a form of entertainment that brings cash to the community, but also because it is a skill worthy of respect and inheritance. And as the sun sets pink and gold over the lushness of the Everglades, we eat fry bread and chili next to a man wearing a Teach Band History button. I ate in the river of grass and was taught life. We stumbled on a cold and rainy day in the Everglades into a tiny window into the resistance and survival and continuation of a people, community, practices, language, wit, humor, care, clothes, food, and song amidst genocide, survival, amidst assimilation, continuation, and yes, amidst death, life. The other day, I was right back to scrolling, and I ran into the words from Jaya John that were our chalice lighting. We who are alive on this earth and at this time have a duty, responsibility, obligation to repair this world, no matter who harmed it or how it was harmed by the virtue of the gift of our miraculous life. We are ordained to be medicine, to make medicine, to choose healing and liberation. Today, tomorrow, for all the suns and moons to come. This is what I think it means to teach life, to honor the gift of miraculous life that we have been given by being here and use it to choose healing and liberation, especially and even when that gift of life is being taken from so many for so many reasons. And now, more than ever, not only do we need to be teachers of life in our own lives, but our faith communities and congregations also need to be teachers of life. So what does this really mean? When I think of the moments when I have felt this teaching of life, this is what I see. One, I see a refusal to surrender to death. I see humans who may have the odds stacked against them. 100 Mikazuki 400 years ago who said, no, we're not going. And I'm sure others said to them, it's foolish and impossible and risky, and maybe even said, surely you will die. Palestinian children right now, dancing amidst bombs, and I'm sure others are saying it's foolish and impossible, and maybe even saying, surely you will die. But I see this in our world. I see refusal to surrender to death, and in that refusal, a refusal of the death-making institutions of our world, a refusal to capitulate to colonialism, to occupation, to the idea that the survival of one community must mean the death of another. 2, I also see a stubborn, persistent passing down of what is good. I see the patterns of the skirts and dresses and coats in that Mikazuki fashion show, sewn and innovated and stewarded across generations. I see the dabka, the Arab folk dance thousands of years old, learned and taught and shared in times of celebration and mourning. I see us lighting our chalice, a symbol brought to us by the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, fighting to bring aid and escape to Jewish communities during the Holocaust, that we light Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, that must continue to remind us to stand against anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim violence and for surviving, thriving each day, every day. I see a choice. Third thing, I see a choice to believe in the possibility of life, no matter how unlikely, no matter how impossible. Because no one hides in the river of grass if they've already given up. No one dances amidst bombs if they have truly surrendered all futures. The words by Sarah Aziza from our reading, I used to have hope, and now I don't know. I don't know. But I do know we will go on. A few months ago was my daughter's first Tet, first Lunar New Year, and it always sneaks up on me. I blame that on the fact that the date changes each year, very pesky lunar calendar. And I had just gone back to work full time. Our household of 4 adults and 3 kids had expanded when we were also hosting a newly arrived immigrant family that had been sleeping at Boston Logan. So it was a fair amount of daily chaos. And the day of Tet found me frantically buying Vietnamese sweets, fresh fruit for our altar, driving all over Malden trying to hunt down Bang Tet, the traditional celebratory rice, pork, and mung bean dish for New Year. And part of me felt so silly, given that she won't even remember this. And part of me felt like, this is what I have to do to screw work and sleep and the chaos of 6 kids running around the house. I have to teach life. I have to pass down the good things. These traditions have persisted and been passed down through French colonialism and Japanese invasion and the American War. They have survived and they've been changed and shaped by every generation of parents and aunts and uncles who have handed them to me. And I know in a very real way that if I don't pass them down, they will disappear, at least in the life of my family, victims of dominant American culture. And so we took her to a Lunar New Year party hosted by dear friends, both Chinese American queer people, a party that would have not been recognizable to my grandfather as one celebrating Lunar New Year, and was exactly the right party for Elena's first Lunar New Year. She wore her adorable tiny ao yai. She ate dumplings and roast chicken and braised pork and stir-fried lotus root and bok choy and wood ear mushroom and whole fish and many, many, many oranges and more chicken, and stayed up 3 hours past her bedtime. And I put the traditions given to me into her very small, chubby hands. And I thought, we are trying to teach life. And when I say we are trying to teach life, I really mean we. because I know that I cannot teach life alone. This community, First Parish Cambridge, where I was a ministerial intern so many 12 or something years ago, you have taught me life. You have taught me when I was an intern minister, hungry to understand how change gets made in an organization, in the world, hungry to understand what spiritual communities can offer social justice movements, hungry to understand how we as regular humans do the sacred work of connecting to spirit, to each other, amidst so much fullness in our everyday lives. You've taught me life as you've cared for one another through change in your life and change in the life of this community. Through your justice work, through supporting immigration and racial and environmental and LGBTQ justice, and so many things that I'm sure I don't know about over the past decade. You remind me that faith communities can and must teach life, especially when the stakes are high and death-dealing forces are everywhere. In this time of devastation, may we find our way into communities that teach life. For some of us, it is this congregation where we are together today or on Zoom. For others, it's a soccer team or a sangha or a mom's group chat or a knitting circle or a choir. And for so many of us, we are seeking, yearning, figuring out what is our community that teaches life, that holds truths and grief and identity with tenderness and care, that passes on what is good, that says there must be more than death. There is life to teach. Our connections right here, the way we sing together and share silence together and eat together and protest together and learn together and pray together, they are our spiritual laboratory in being human. Those of us who are here in this sanctuary this morning or joining online, we have been given the gift of miraculous life, and we still have it. Let us honor it. We have many around us reminding us, inspiring us what it looks like to dance amidst bombs, to escape to the river of grass, to teach our children to eat bente. Let us refuse to surrender to death. Let us pass down all that is good. Let us believe in life and teach it. May we be teachers of life, even and especially amidst devastation. May we learn from all those who teach life. And may our communities of faith and spirit be ones where people come among us and say, here they are teaching life. May it be so, and amen.